Are you tired of feeling overlooked and underestimated? Hi, I'm Tammy North, the Introverted Executives Coach. If you're an introverted executive or you're ready to rise to senior leadership, but you're struggling to be seen as a high potential, this podcast is for you. I often ask my clients to describe themselves. Okay, so let's just take a minute right now, and I want you to pause this podcast and actively define who you think you are. If you're sitting, then pause the audio and literally write out a paragraph defining yourself. And if you're driving, before you listen to the whole podcast, at least pause the audio and take a few minutes to define who you are in your own mind before we proceed. Okay, so you often might define yourself by saying things like, I'm a wife, a mom, a friend, a sister, a coworker. I'm shy, I'm quiet, I'm reserved. I'm often misunderstood, left out, overlooked. People don't think I'm interesting. I'm boring. I work too much. I'm passionate about my work. I'm too quiet to be a leader. I miss out on some opportunities because I tend to be reluctant. I need to lose more weight. I'm not confident enough or brave enough to go after what it is I really want. I'm not sure my dreams will ever come true. But then when I turn around and ask my clients to say what they love about themselves, some of the phrases they come up with are, I figured out an innovative way to do something at work and everybody loves it. I figured out a way to teach my team something and now we've scaled that to our whole industry. I feel like I'm really making a difference. I inspired an entire group of women in the next generation to make their own difference, and it's so exhilarating. I'm a great listener. I have a great work ethic. I'm loyal, I'm observant, and I'm fun. I have a great group of friends. Did you notice there that the way some people, and maybe you, automatically describe yourself when you're defining yourself, it often leans toward the negative, as if you're holding yourself back. Yet when you describe what you love about yourself, it almost directly counters the initial description of yourself. And let me let you in on a little secret. All of those quotes that I just read to you were from my real clients, both the part where they define themselves leaning toward the negative, no doubt. But when I asked them what they love about themselves, they were overflowing with phrases that directly countered their own definition of themselves. This is just what our brain does to us. The problem with this negative description that you might have of yourself is that these thoughts turn into deep-seated beliefs. At some point, we think that these thoughts that we have of ourselves are actual facts. We believe that they're chiseled in stone. If you reread the thoughts that you wrote about yourself or listen to some of the examples from our real clients that I just read, you will notice that some of them are positive, some of them are neutral, but a lot of them are negative. And the problem with the negative thoughts is that as long as they're there and actively popping up when you're asked to define who you are, then they are driving the feelings and the actions that should propel you forward. So if you believe deep down that you're too quiet to be a leader, then you're going to feel stuck and you will not take any of the actions necessary to move you toward that goal. If you truly and deeply believe that people think you're boring, then the odds of you engaging with anybody in a meaningful way will be greatly diminished and you will actually come across as possibly boring. It's almost like the thoughts that you have about yourself also then lead to you discovering evidence that supports those exact thoughts. So where do these thoughts come from? And is there anything you can do about them? Well, in today's episode, I want to help you create a definition of yourself that inspires you, a deeply authentic definition that will propel you into all that's possible for you and who you want to be. A lot of times we decide that what we're capable of and what that ultimately means is possible for our life is based on where we've already been in our past. Here's an example I could tell about my own personal story. I came from a small town. I was raised by a single mom. Eventually, I also became a single mom. It was a struggle, and I thought I could never even buy my own house. Eventually, I did buy a small house, and I thought this is probably the best house I'll ever have because it's the kind my mom and dad had when I was growing growing up. I probably should be very frugal and not take any risks because it could all fall apart at any moment. Do you hear the words of that story? They are clearly driven from scarcity and fear. This is a story of low expectations, even though it was built from actual thoughts I have had at one point in my brain. Okay, here's a different version of essentially the same story, my story. I came from a small town where I was taught to have a strong work ethic, and all the women in my family were educated in various ways and driven to succeed at their passion. They encouraged me to follow my dreams and to learn as much as I could. Later, I decided to enlist in the Navy because I had a spirit of adventure and I wanted to see what was in the world. Around the time I was 30, I was commissioned as a naval officer because I wanted an intellectual challenge and I wanted to make a bigger impact, and I also wanted to show my daughter what was possible for her. Since then, I've embraced challenge and opportunity at every chance I get. I love helping other people succeed because I believe there's room for all of us, and I wake up every day energized by where my path will take me next. My life is already better than I ever dreamed it would possibly be, and this is only the halfway point. Do you hear the difference? That was also the story of my life. This is a story that is driven from abundance and belief that there is enough for all of us. And technically, both of the stories I just told are 100% true. 100% true. So which one do you think keeps me moving, growing, achieving, and trying to make an impact for you and my family? I think that's an easy guess. I have a choice every day when I wake up to choose one of those stories or a story like that. And the more often I choose that positive version, the more often I actually do move forward. So now there's a story that you've been telling yourself about yourself, and you probably have more than one. I have a whole collection of stories I used to tell about myself. 1, I am excruciatingly shy. 2, no one will ever love me. 3, only people with degrees from an Ivy League school or the Naval Academy can be an executive within my organization. I keep messing up my own life. I will always be poor. Drama is just a part of life. I can't lose weight. I now have new ways of telling those exact same stories to myself. Here's the same 7 stories in the new version. 1, introverts are the most powerful people on the earth. 2, I'm overflowing in love of all kinds, from my husband to my family, my kids, to so many incredible friends. 3, I did become an executive in my current organization, so it is possible. And if that's possible, what else might I do next? 4, I keep finding new and bigger ways to make a difference. 5, I've created an abundance of financial security. 6, due to the boundaries I've set and adhered to, there is essentially zero drama in my life. It's crazy, but I will tell you this drama one, this story about drama, might be the one I honestly thought would never change in a million years. But in many ways, when this one got in control, it was the catalyst for changing so many of my other beliefs. And 7, I just decided to lose weight and I lost 15 pounds. I just decided I'm a person who no longer eats sugar. I no longer let sugar control me. It can be that simple for you too. So now it's your turn. Think about stories that you've been telling yourself about your own life and your own past. This is where you get the opportunity to change your past. When you think of your stories, I just listed 7 of mine and I gave you the negative version and the positive version. If you just list about 5 of your stories, do you tell yourself constant stories that make you sound like a victim? Or do you tell stories that empower you? Do you tell yourself stories that sound like you've already achieved the best life that's possible for you? Like this is as good as it gets? Well, here's the thing. Here's the trick. If you can change the story that you've been telling about yourself into a story that inspires and empowers you, it will change everything. It will change your life. So today, I want you to take these actions. Every day for a week, journal about how you currently define yourself. Get it all out. Think of all the stories you tell. I literally had to tell myself to quit saying I'm a single mom. I mean, granted, I'm married now, but I raised my daughter until she graduated from high school as a single mom. So I was a single mom for something like, before I got married again, I was probably a single mom for about 22 years. And I'll tell you, to be a single mom and to kind of wear that like a badge of honor on your chest, like you are in the arena, you're fighting it out, nobody can tell you anything. You have been a single mom and you have succeeded in spite of everything. That is something that I could be proud of, and I am proud of in many ways. But then also, by continuing to identify myself mentally as a single mom, that wasn't moving me forward. That was just keeping me in that same energy. It was like clawing and fighting, trying to succeed, trying to survive, making sure that we could get to the next day, that we could just take another step up. And now I choose to come from a more abundant place now, because identifying as a single mom and making that the most important part of my story makes it very hard to move into the best version of myself. So think of those stories, whatever kind of things that you tell yourself and the way you define yourself, get it all out. Take as much time as you need over the course of a week and just write down all your stories. Stories about how you were abused, stories about how your parents were divorced, stories about how you're bullied, stories about whatever. There's all sorts of things that at this point, maybe you were fired at your first job and you never really got over it. There's all kinds of stories that people tell about themselves, and all sorts of stories that you have that you repeat over and over and over. Get them out, write them on the paper. Okay, and then about a week from now, review everything that you've written over the past 7 days and pick out 3 to 5 themes that keep recurring in your writing. Like for me, it would have been the single mom stuff. And then the third thing I want you to do after you have your 3 to 5 themes that you've noticed occurring in your writing, make a point to rewrite your entire story, but use motivating versions of the themes that you discovered. Write a story that inspires, motivates, and propels you into who you are fully possible of becoming. Include your family, your career, how your life will be in 10 years. Literally, create the life you want. I'll give you a bonus when you rewrite your story if you send me a copy. I would love to hear it. Email me at Tammy, TAMI.north, NORTH, at genuinedrivenwomen.com. This is a pretty short episode today, but this is the kind of action that if you take it, it will immediately have a positive impact in your life. Let me know how it goes. You can connect with me at Introverted Executive on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're ready for executive coaching to help you achieve your biggest career goals, subscribe to my weekly Rise and Shine newsletter. There, you'll find out when my program opens for new clients, and you'll also receive weekly tips and activities to continue to make a bigger impact in your own powerful way. You'll find all the information and links down in the show notes. See you next week.